Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. This presentation is about the code review of SEPPG12. I'm Hao Zhang and my student number is 1715229. Basically, there are four parts in the code review. The first part is a code, the second part is the variables, the third part is the data and memory, and the final part is the error handling. So let's look about the code part first. For the code design, I think our code completed all design of milestone 1, and our code completed the task of avoiding obstacles, recording survivors, implementing user interface, and transfer the data between the EV3 and the PC. About the code structure, I think our code is well structured and consistent in style, and the structure is clean. Basically, there are three main parts in the code. The first part is the basic movement, and the second part is the client, which is used to reflect data to the user interface. And the third part is the server, which is used to add features to EV3. Next part is the code convention. We actually formulate a document of code convention, and there are several standards of coding in the document. For instance, FTP parentheses in the same line of if or while loop. So looking about the code modification, I think our code is clearly and very easy to modify every part in the code, and all the comments are consistent with the code. So let's look about the code comments. The comments consistent with every function, and the description is accurate and informative. About unused code. Through checking the code again, I think some variables are not used. We designed a script to synchronize data at the start of this project, but we changed the method to implement this task. So I think this part is an unreachable code now. For the repeat code, we do not have some parts of code could be condensed into a single program. For the test code, I think every part in the code is testable, and every part of the code has been tested. For the code complexity, I think some parts in the server looks like a little bit complex. So for the more, and we will try to fix it in the implementation of milestone 2. So let's look about the variables. I think the first thing about the variable is the variable names. Through checking all variables in the three parts of the code, 90% of variables are defined with consistent and clear names, but 10% of them are meaningless for client. I think all of the team members should change it. For the type and the scope, all assigned variables have proper type consistency and correct scope. For the unused variables, we have already written 3 versions of client and server.java. There are some unused variables in the version 1 and the version 2, but we have clearly deleted them and or commented them. So next part is the data and memory. For data operating, our data is detected by EV3, and EV3 transfers this data to PC through the client server. And for the memory allocation, every memory is deallocated after it is allocated in time. For the storage use, I think the use of the storage is efficient as we use a TXT file to store all the color which has been detected by color sensor, and every time when we run it, our GUI will display those data which is in the TXT file. For the data test, I think all imported data or input arguments has been tested for several different cases, and all of them are validity and correctness. So let's look at the final part, the error handling. For the return value, for both function return and the error return, all return values are set correctly. For the errors, I think we do have some time conflict error when we use the EV3 to transfer data to PC in time, and I think we need to spend some time to change it. For the file extents, the code only has the connections with one data.txt file, and the code checks the extents of the data.txt file. If the file does not exceed the code will create the data.txt file automatically. For the files and the device states when it is terminated for current version of code, if the program terminated, the file still has the right content, but for the EV3, it could not work normally upon a program termination. Next part is about the IOUs and input values. Through checking all the 3 ports of code, all input values and data I think is rational before use, except those variables about time delay. I think the possible reason why we have the problem of the synchronizing data is that the wrong set of the variables of time. Next part is error detecting and handling. The error has been detected but not handled yet. We need to increase our data code to continue processing. Next part is the error convention. Up to now, PG12 does not follow any error handling convention for handling error or exceptions, and we decided to make it in the mid break. So for the hardware recovery for current version of client server, the code does not pay any attention to recovery the system if client or server is in the state of false. I think it is one of the main tasks in the implementation of Milestone 2 about redundant code. There is no redundant code for the latest version of code. About leftover stubs, I think there is no leftover stubs in the code, and all the functions are used to implement Milestone 1. For the index pointers and the subscripts, I think all index pointers and subscripts are correct after testing against some array, record, or fair bounds. For the loops, branches, and the logical construct, I believe that all the loops and branches and logical constructs are complete, correct. However, the only problem is that the logic of the synchronizing data is not proper and correct to some extent. So that's all of the code review. Thanks very much for watching my presentation.